The science of stress. Did y'all know there was actually a science behind stress? Like, there's a such thing as healthy stress and unhealthy stress. So here we are to talk about it for a few. This is the 10% Happier Self-Care Journey. And I was doing days like day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, blah, blah. Today I'm deciding to stop doing days and just going to do dates from here. So this is 12, 23, 19, getting ready to hit 2020. I hope you all have your 2020 vision happening. So today is about the science of stress. And thank you all for joining me. The first thing I'm going to do is to go through a couple notes that I took from this particular session, and we're going to get into it. So, again, there's a such thing as healthy stress, right? There's a healthy level of stress, and then there's unhealthy. So let's talk about what happens to the body when you become stressed. And I put a couple articles up on Facebook that you all will see if you look right before this particular video on Facebook. So when you become stressed, the first thing I put is that your adrenaline increases your heart rate. This is from the healthy perspective, right? What's up, Noah? Thanks for hanging out, bro. Your adrenaline increases your heart rate, preparing you for action, right? These are the survival aspects of stress. As you can imagine, getting prepared for action is what we needed, especially earlier on in our evolution when we were in much more dangerous situations. We needed to prepare for action and needed to move fast, run fast, think fast. Your breathing speeds up to increase the oxygen to your brain, which allows you to be more aware, more focused, and to make split-second decisions. And then there's this new word that I just learned today that's actually going to be the word of the day. And it is, I'm going to hit the button so I can hear it.
Norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine. Okay, so this is my first time ever hearing of norepinephrine. And norepinephrine is another hormone similar to adrenaline that is released to increase arousal and energy. And the way that the article put it, I'm going to go through the article in a few minutes, but the way that the article put it was that it was almost like a backup to adrenaline. Again, and it was a backup so that you could have the energy needed and the awareness to act, even if your adrenaline levels weren't high enough for you to act fast. And then cortisol increases your sugar levels, giving you extra energy. Cortisol also curbs functions that would be non-essential or detrimental in a fight or flight situation. And I thought that was very interesting too, because what it'll do is anything that you don't need, like oxygen flow to the skin. And I even learned recently, like if you have to use the bathroom, number 1 or 2, like when you go into this mode, all of that will cut off. You won't even experience it because it's the fight or flight sensation. So cortisol curbs those functions so that the oxygen in blood can be routed to areas that are more needed for the particular stressful situation. And next note that I put is stress hormones are natural and in the right circumstance can be life-saving. One of the things that I've been enjoying about this journey is that, there is not enough talk around stress from the natural and the healthy perspective. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Russell. Hey, Diva Lovey. Uh-oh. Trying to bring people in. Sherry Hunt. Thanks for hanging out. There's a such thing as healthy versus unhealthy, and it's not talked about enough. I was thinking this morning about how many people say the statement, "I'm too blessed to be stressed," and that kind of thing, or looking at like stress as something that's purely negative. And the thing I realize is, you know, there's an overall application to not being stressed for sure, right? So I don't want to be too nitpicky, but I do think it's worthwhile, as far as the conversation, to say that we're oversimplifying the topic. And what I mean by that is we're always talking about stress as something that's negative when it's not always negative. I think what that does to us is it allows us to overlook the healthy ways of dealing with stress. It allows us to overlook like the needs for it and to put it into a better I'm sorry, I'm having a lot of trouble with words this morning. Categorization, right? Categorizing it in a much better way so that we can have a healthier relationship with it. And I think that, with anything in life, the better understanding we have and the more realistic we're looking at it, the better as far as how we deal with it, how we use it to our advantage, how we avoid the pitfalls and the cons, and so forth and so on. So, yeah, like this topic of conversation, I think is really good for that reason. We got to talk about these things more realistically and stop being so optimistic and positive that we're in a place of naivety. In fact, I'm gonna see if I can find it on Facebook. I put up a Facebook post that was an original quote, and I think it's real appropriate for this moment. I said, sometimes we're so afraid to face reality that we faith ourselves into full-on naivety and delusion. And I could use the same application here. Sometimes when we look at something like stress as just all negative and that kind of thing, then we don't look at it in a realistic way so we can understand how to really relate to it and even use it to our advantage when it's needed. So anyway, back to the topic at hand. The next note I have here is right in that vein. If we learn to lean into the feeling of stress instead of running away from it, it won't own us, and we can use the experience to make better decisions. Bringing awareness to the body and out of the head can help us to de-escalate. One of the things I like about what they said in this particular session that I was doing today in the 10% Happier course is that, there's a difference between like being the stress where it like overtakes you and being able to separate the two, being able to feel the stress but not be the stress. I call it the wedge, separating the two realities from what you're actually experiencing from what's going on in your head. And it's especially important in today's time because what they say about stress is that, that's an early evolutionary trait that helped us when we were really in like the jungle and in different places where danger was just present all the time. But as they said, in the concrete jungle, when we're just dealing with bills or, other concerns that we deal with from day to day that's not life-threatening, it's very important to be able to make the distinction because our bodies are still triggered in the same way. It's still the same evolutionary trait. So, like one of the examples they said is like, if you're in traffic and, you're stuck in traffic, like you might experience stress that is not really needed because you're not in danger. So if you can recognize it, if you can be with it, if you can separate it from your experience and understand, there's no reason for you to actually stress as deeply, then you can be with it. You can, you can de-escalate. You can put it in its place, so to speak. So the last note that I put on here is learning to feel the body can help us to separate the reality of what's going on from the mental loop or story going on in our heads. And that was an elaboration on what I just said. So for a refresher for anybody who's just starting to follow me on this journey, what I'm doing is a method called the 10% Happier meditation courses. It's an app that you can download on your phone. Just look up 10% Happier by Dan Harris. And it's a group of meditation courses by a lot of different authors, different topics, different applications. I mean, it's wonderful. I'm having a ball. So I'm in the course now called Stress Better. And that's where this information is coming from. So the one that I was doing today, Science of Stress, they did an experiment with a person where they put her through some stress tests, like, on purpose, stress tests on purpose. And, they monitored her adrenaline, her cortisone, and I got to get this word right, norepinephrine, right? Those levels. And they made some observations. Now, she was just in the midst of like a math test, a test for speaking, public speaking. And it was really interesting, what they came up with, what they looked at. Okay, so I'm going to go to the article that I put up. I'm going to read a bit of the article. This is an article on adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine, the three major stress hormones explained. I'm going to read some of it just in case you don't get a chance to click on the link on my page and read it. Okay, I'm going to skim through, right? So, thanks to the work of our sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system that takes over when we're stressed, when you see your boss's name in your inbox late at night, your body reacts like there's a lion on the loose. Behind the wide range of both physical and mental reactions to stress are a number of hormones that are in charge of adding fuel to the fire. Okay, so they talk about adrenaline. It's the commonly known as the fight or flight hormone. It's produced by the adrenaline glands after receiving a message to the brain that a stressful situation has presented itself. And what it does, along with norepinephrine, is largely responsible for the immediate reactions we feel when we're stressed. It talks about if you're trying to change lanes in your car and from your blind spot you see a car coming 100 miles per hour, you return to the original lane and your heart is pounding, your muscles are tense, you breathe faster, you may start sweating. That's adrenaline. Along with the increase of heart rate, it gives you a surge of energy, which is what you need in order to run away from a dangerous situation or fight. And I don't have that here, but I'm just saying that. Norepinephrine is a hormone similar to adrenaline, released from the adrenal glands and also from the brain. The primary role is arousal. When you are stressed, you become more aware, awake, and focused. And that's one point I want to mention there as far as the distinction. There's a point at which stress allows you to become more aware, awake, and focused. And then there's a point, at some point, if it goes on too long or unnecessarily, then it becomes the exact opposite of all these characteristics. It becomes debilitating. It becomes the reason why you can't focus, and it allows you to freeze. And it's so funny because when I think about the freezing aspect of it, I'm gonna have to do some more research on this, but I was talking about it in the last live stream. I really think that connects to our earlier ancestral roots, where we were in situations where we had to literally stay still and stay frozen, for a period of time. For some reason, I just really feel like that's the case. Because if you look at other animals, they have those tendencies for particular reasons. So, matter of fact, here's the other part. You're generally more responsive. It also helps to shift blood flow away from areas that might not be so crucial, like the skin, and toward more essential areas at the time, like the muscles, so you can flee the stressful scene. Although norepinephrine might seem redundant, given adrenaline, since adrenaline is also responsible for the same things, this particular doctor, Sood, imagines we have both hormones as a type of backup system. So if your adrenal glands are not working well, you still have something to save you. Depending on the long-term impact of whatever is stressing you out and how you personally handle stress, it could take anywhere from half an hour to a couple of days to return to your normal resting state. And then there's cortisol, a steroid commonly known as the stress hormone produced by the adrenal glands. It takes a little more time, minutes rather than seconds, for you to feel the effects of cortisol in the face of stress, because it's a multi-step process. It has to go to the amygdala, I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's a part of the brain that recognizes a threat, then to your hypothalamus, which releases corticotrophin releasing hormone, CRH, which tells the pituitary gland to release, I can't even pronounce this, adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, which tells the adrenal glands to produce cortisol. Phew. That's what he has written here. In survival mode, it can be life-saving. It helps to maintain fluid balance and blood pressure while regulating some body functions that aren't crucial in the moment, like reproductive, drive, immunity, digestion, and growth. That's really fascinating because those are really large, functions in our body. I mean, immunity, reproductive, digestion, those are huge. So your body switches. That's pretty fascinating. Evolution, I tell you. It says, but when you stew on a problem, the body continually releases cortisol, and chronic elevated levels lead to serious issues. Too much cortisol can actually suppress the immune system, increase blood pressure and sugar, decrease libido, produce acne, contribute to obesity, and more. Ducks walk out of a lake, flap their wings, and they fly off, says Sue. When you face something stressful, particularly if it's not likely to repeat or doesn't have a huge long-term impact, you want to be able to shake it off and move on with life. So that's the end of that article. And then there's another article I put up, which is called, it's called Stress Management, Healthy Lifestyle Stress Management. Chronic stress puts your health at risk. And I really like this one because it really goes through in a quick way and makes the distinction. Your body is hardwired to react to stress in ways meant to protect against threats and aggressors. Such threats are rare today, but that doesn't mean that life is free of stress. On the contrary, you undoubtedly face demands such as huge workload, paying the bills, taking care of your family. And it says your body treats these so-called minor hassles and threats as major ones. As a result, you may feel if you're constantly under attack, but you can fight back. And then it goes through, I won't read it all here, but it goes through again and talks about understanding the natural stress response and what happens to your hormones, your adrenaline, increasing the cortisol, the glucose increasing, for sugar, for energy. And then it says, when the natural, I will go through this part because we'll talk about the downsides. When the natural stress response goes wild, the body's stress response system is usually self-limiting. Once a perceived threat has passed, hormone levels return to normal. As adrenaline and cortisol levels drop, your heart rate and blood pressure return to baseline levels, and other systems resume their regular activities. But when stresses are always present, that's the point, and you constantly feel under attack, the fight or flight reaction stays turned on. The long-term activation of the stress response system and the overexposure to cortisol and other stress hormones that follows can disrupt almost all of your body's processes. This puts you at increase of many health problems, including anxiety, depression, digestive problems, headaches, heart disease, sleep problems, weight gain, memory, and concentration impairment. That's why it's so important to learn healthy ways to cope with your life stressors. So I'm just going to leave that there. There's more to read. I definitely encourage you because it talks about, okay, I didn't see this. Let's go through this. I didn't read this. Learning to react to stress in a healthy way. Stressful events are facts of life, and you may not be able to change your current situation, but you can take steps to manage the impact they have on you. You can learn to identify what stresses you and how to take care of yourself physically and emotionally in the face of stressful situations. Stressful management strategies include eating a healthy diet and getting regular exercise and plenty of rest. You know, that, of course, can't be overstated. And I know at this point it's cliche for us, but I hate to say it. It's like when we get into more, tough times in life, when we face health challenges or we're deeply depressed or stressed, that's when we really go back to these three main pillars and we realize their importance all over again. A healthy diet, regular exercise, and plenty of sleep. I mean, that's what it is. Practicing relaxation techniques such as trying yoga, practicing deep breathing, and getting a massage or learning to meditate. So those are definitely places where I am right there. Taking time for hobbies such as reading a book or listening to music, fostering healthy friendships, having a sense of humor, volunteering in your community, seeking professional counseling when needed. I really like that. I mean, I know that it may seem like, and I guess it's just me, I'm guessing because of where I am in this journey and how much I'm appreciating these basics even more. It's like we see that all the time, but realizing how important they are, and it's funny because going through this course, a lot of the sessions are based on each of these individual categories. The last one that I was in that I did a live stream for was related to focusing on others, and I like with this volunteering part and fostering healthy relationships. When you focus on others, it takes your mind off of yourself, allows you to have compassion and empathy for others. And that sense of worth that you get from helping others actually brings down your stress levels or helps you to de-escalate and that kind of thing. The reward for learning to manage stress is peace of mind and perhaps a longer, healthier life. Namaste. So that's all the notes that I want to go through today. If you have been able to tune into this, please drop a line. I'm starting to wave to people now and say hello. Hey, Shannon, thanks for hanging out. I also didn't check to see if you all could hear me clearly, too. Sometimes I have microphone issues. Hey, Carrie, Jermaine, thanks for hanging out. Good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. Jamar, Milton, always a pleasure to see you, sir. So, in ending this session today, I just want to talk about a couple more things. Number one, get on your own self-care journey. I just put out a track the other day. In fact, what we're listening to in the background right now is that track, or the piano version of that guided meditation. I put out a guided meditation the other day called Breathe Deeply. And if you haven't heard it already, you can check it out on my YouTube page, Aaron Hill TV. The name of the video is called Breathe Deeply. It's also on my website, aaronhilltv.com. Click the music tab. And in a couple more days, it'll be on Spotify, iTunes, and all of that kind of stuff. I really want you to check it out, even the YouTube version, because you can experience it right now. It's my own guided meditation. It's the first of many to come. And I'm curious how you experience it. Plus, I felt like the best place to start on this meditative journey as far as making my own works was just breathing. Because even if you're on a person that is, I think everybody at some point will have time for meditation and understand the value of it. But even if you're not there yet, just taking the time in the midst of what you're doing to just take a deep breath, or to take a few deep breaths, or several minutes of deep breaths, is such a simple but valuable activity. And what I noticed in my own life is that when we're going about our day, and especially in the hustle and bustle, we really are breathing in a shallow way and don't even realize it. We're not breathing deeply. And just breathing deeply helps you to relax, helps you to de-stress. And I think it's the most simple but valuable tool ever. So what I'm playing in the background right now is the piano version of that guided meditation. And this is called Breath of Life, appropriately named. So you can check this out, same place on my YouTube channel, Aaron Hill TV. There's a video for it. It's also on my website, same place, and you can check it out on your streaming service of choice: Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, Google Play, Napster, iHeartRadio, the whole nine. So that's that, and then I think that's about it for this session. So right after this, I'm coming right back to do the word of the day, which would be norepinephrine. How many of you all, nobody dropped a line here. I wanted to see if you all could hear clearly and if everything was cool. But how many of you all have heard of that term? And then also drop a line, let me know if any of this information was helpful or just what you thought about any of it, you know. And I think that's about it. So yeah. For those that are joining me today, happy Monday. Join me later tonight for Mood Mondays. I think I'm going to do it at 8 o'clock tonight because I got a rehearsal, and I think at 8 o'clock I'll be free to do Mood Mondays. So come join me back here, 8 o'clock p.m., and then join me in a few minutes for the word of the day. All right, have a great one, and be well.